Welcome to Entertainment, the channel with the most deceptive name in all of YouTube. Today we'll be looking at fighters who stopped themselves from hitting their opponents. Some of these stopped themselves right mid-swing when told by the referee. Why? Well, just because they're nice people and didn't want to cheat. Others though had to beg the referee to stop the fight because their opponent was taking a beating that was completely unnecessary and the fight needed to be stopped. Sometimes the referee just messes up, and luckily these fighters were nice enough to stop themselves from hurting someone. Let's get started. Let's start off with this fight between Roy Jones Jr. and Brian Brannon. This was a pretty quick fight and it went into the second round where Jones was very much in his prime, still undefeated, so he was putting a real beating on poor Brannon and put him down in the second round.
Power over that extended arc.
Every punch is being blocked by Roy Jones. And he lets the guy throw his punches and he's okay, now it's my turn.
Brannon was able to recover from the shot and got up, but was visibly hurt.
The Trenton crowd can't believe what they're seeing. They were so against Roy Jones. And their man is just getting hammered in there now. Ron Lipton watching as Roy Jones tattoos Brannon. And then Jones says, look, you want more? Okay.
Yeah, maybe the fight should have been stopped when Jones said, or maybe earlier because Brannon was almost out on his feet. Apparently, the referee later stated that Brannon had seen him the night before at a restaurant and told him not to stop the fight prematurely. So he said he was going to give both fighters the benefit of the doubt, and only stopped it once he was on the canvas. Jones was landing too cleanly before the knockout for him not to stop the fight though. But Brannon appealed to his former boxing career and told him that this was his big shot, and he gave it to him. This is probably some of them. This is an incredible stop by this kickboxer who was putting a pretty good beating on her opponent, and in one of those sequences this incredible pullback happens. That body kick was devastating and her opponent was unable to cover up and she was completely uncovered. Luckily, the ref called for a standing 8 count which stopped the onslaught, but that kick was going with full power right to her head. How did she manage to pull it back? The girl is extremely lucky that the referee was so good and that her opponent has incredible strength and reflexes to stop that head kick. Now we have this MMA fight between Mike Pantangco and Jeremy Razor. Pantangco was winning the fight big time, putting on a serious beating on poor Razor, but then suddenly the most unexpected thing happened. Yeah, you just saw that right. That guy winning the fight tapped out. Pantangco could have been a terrible guy and could have just kept teeing off on this poor guy, but instead he took the loss in order to save this poor guy. This was his explanation.
I just feel that it's no point fighting him because he didn't train against me and I didn't train for him, and I just feel like we're amateur fighter, we don't get money, we don't get paid. And I know that the only thing I'm gonna finish the fight is him to go in hospital or get hurt. I just feel like terrible, so I'm just gonna give him the win.
The only question I have is, does Razor feel any resentment or anger towards Pantangco for possibly making him look bad? I hope not, and hope he understands that he was getting destroyed. And based on these images, I think he did. Carlos Monzon had an amazing career, fighting 100 times and only lost 3 of them. In his final fight against Rodrigo Valdez, which was their second meeting after Monzon won the first fight, Monzon was defending his belt and he even got knocked down in this fight in the second round.
Well, there's nothing pulled here. Those punches are really sinking in. All delivered with a knuckle part. Hard punches. Oh, that's the first time that Monzon has...
Then later in the third round, Valdez slipped in the corner and Monzon held himself back.
Leaning rather heavily, to say the least, at one another close in, and there's bound to be some cuts Oh, that was a good sidestep by the Matador there, and he's perfectly in order to pile.
Monzon could have easily let go of his hands, landing punches on Valdez, who wouldn't be able to really defend himself, but instead he held back and let him get situated again. This is incredible restraint by Monzon, and it just makes him look like a great and respectable champion. Monzon did end up winning the fight by unanimous decision. Back in 2015, Willis Meehan was boxing against Liami Tato in the heavyweight division and was beating him really clearly. They closed out the first round with Tato barely being able to stand in the corner, and Meehan was looking at the ref with disgust already. In the second round, Meehan was landing clean heavy punches once again, and Tato was clearly out on his feet. But the referee just kept watching like an idiot. How bad do you have to be at your job that the fighter himself has to tell you to stop the fight because the opponent is clearly out and is receiving unnecessary damage? Those were 42 seconds that were completely unnecessary. I love how Meehan hugs Tato and keeps the ref away from him since he obviously doesn't care about his health at all. Nigel Benn was a very hard-hitting middleweight champion that had 35 knockouts in his 42 wins. In one of his early career fights against Ian Chandler, it took one round for the fight to end.
One fight, and he's just in.
See it for the first time from Terry Marsh. For my money, it was the first punch of the fight from Benn. Bang on the button, and you've got to say...
Benn could have easily landed 2 or 3 more shots on Chandler in this sequence, but he showed his great sportsmanship and restraint by holding back, knowing that Chandler was already out and this fight was already decided. You see tons of fights where boxers keep landing shots even when the opponent has already put his hand or knee on the ground, but Benn is a really nice boxer. This was a long boxing fight between Michael Ayers and Wayne Rigby. This was the first of 2 fights between these 2 fighters, and it was voted as British Fight of the Year. Ayers was defending his lightweight title against Rigby.
There's that good combination from Ayers, gritting his teeth, just tries, but was it enough to win him the round, you think, Glenn? All his other... Oh, and a left hook for Rigby, now Ayers!
By the 10th round, they were exchanging a crazy amount of punches, but Rigby was hurt by a couple of right hands, and Ayers pleaded to the ref to stop the fight.
Take this in a career. Well, they're fighting themselves almost to a standstill, and Rigby, he's starting to go here. He's looking in trouble, big right hand. Referee takes a very close look at Rigby, who needs the bell. He's got 20 seconds to go. He could be stopped here, Rigby. Ayers is inviting the referee to stop the fight.
I don't know if the ref should have stopped this fight, but Rigby was clearly hurt and was extremely tired, almost falling down multiple times. It wasn't until Ayers and Rigby basically agreed to stop the fight right there that the referee finally called an end to the fight. It's great to see that Ayers didn't want to hurt Rigby and that Rigby was able to recognize that he was done. Now we have this boxing fight who many thought was a huge mismatch and never should have happened between the undefeated heavyweight champion Larry Holmes and Marvis Frazier, who only had 10 fights up to that point. The fight only lasted 1 round, including this first knockdown.
Last time up, of course, Frazier was in with Joe Bugner. You know, he beat the big fellow there out of sight in Atlantic City. He didn't have him down. Oh!
Frazier got up at the count of 8, but Holmes just moved in to win the fight.
Really putting young Frazier in trouble there. Will he get over this first round? The gum shield comes flying out. Bill's Lane, the referee, hopefully giving him every chance, but it's all one way now, and he stopped it.
Holmes was waving to the referee to stop the fight because it was clearly over, but he just wouldn't do it until he gave him a couple more heavy punches. Holmes then explained later that he didn't want to hurt anybody and wanted the referee to step in. He also said that the kid wasn't ready and he has a long way to go. Now we go way back to a boxing fight between Bojack and Ike Williams. Williams was the champion and Jack was trying to regain the title. The first 3 rounds were close, but Williams finally started to penetrate Jack's defense in the 5th round, and in the 6th round he really started to land.
Sharp, jolting punches by Ike Williams. Williams pouring it on, a barrage of punches. Bojack is in trouble. Bojack staggers backward into the corner. Williams pouring it on. Jolting punches, ripping combinations. Williams asked the referee to stop the fight. And the referee finally steps in and...
Jack was completely out on his feet, with Williams landing incredibly hard punches, but the referee was a complete idiot that day and just kept dancing around trying to look at the fight from all angles, but he just couldn't see any reason to stop it. I don't know how that's even possible, but he didn't stop it until Williams asked him to step in, and he still refused one more time. So Williams landed a couple more brutal punches and the ref finally stopped it. What a horrible job that was. He probably should have stopped it before they even got to the corner. These fighters are good and respectable fighters that respect sportsmanship, while other fighters like Mayweather Jr. don't really care. Even after being apologized to by Ortiz, he still knocked him out. In my eyes, it was because he was angry and just wanted to get payback. But this is a really shitty way to win. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe down below. Also, be sure to turn on those notifications. And let me know in the comments, do you think these referees should get fired? Thanks for watching this video. See you next time.